screen? Can we all see my screen? Can we all see my screen? All right, very good. So like I said, that I promised us last week, Monday, that I was going to send a project to us, and I sent the project. I've sent the project to us on our WhatsApp group. So I believe that we've all seen the project and the questions. So deliberately, I've given us till March 31. So invariably, before I said 2 weeks, so invariably I gave you like a whole month to do it and send it back to me. Now, for those of you that you have showed interest in the certificate, you will notice that I've not given you any account number. So it's a deliberate act from me because I want you to submit the project first. So when you submit the project, then if you request for certificates, it will be given to you. So it's a deliberate act from me. Why I've not actually said you should make payment yet, because I want everybody, I want you to have done the project, then pay for certificates, and within 2 weeks, the certificates will be sent to you. So I don't want you to pay for certificate and you don't end up doing the project. So the project is very important if you need a certificate. That is very, very important. So do we have, based on what we have learned so far in the last 6 weeks, do we have anybody, do I have any question that you possibly want to dish out? That's why I'm in the comment section to hear us out. I told you last week that you should come with your questions. Do you have anybody that have any question? We did so many things. We did some things on introduction to Excel interface. We did data cleaning. We did conditional formatting. We did VLOOKUPs. We did pivot chart, pivot tables, and the likes. So do we have anybody that have any question concerning what? Okay, this one said, sir, can we look again at VLOOKUP and XVLOOKUP? Okay, that's fine. Do I have any question again? We'll go over it. I can assure you of that. We're going to go over it. Okay. Somebody said we should go over that. So let me stop sharing. Let me quickly look for the data that we used for the VLOOKUP. So since somebody said we should go over it again, so I will attempt to go over it again, because there's no point in can we all see my screen? Please type in the comment section if you can see my screen. All right, okay. So let's do the VLOOKUP again. Now, this was the data that was used. So we have the sales data, the product details, and we have the salespeople. So here we have name, region, and product ID. And product details here, we have product ID here. We have the product name. So if we want to link the product name here to the product ID here, which is also the same as the product ID that is here. So how do we go about it? And we want to link the price to form the table here, and also link the salesperson here because we have sales ID here. Because we have sales ID here, we want to link it here. So that means that we are bringing product name, we are bringing price, and we are bringing salesperson all into this table. So that is what VLOOKUP is. And it's very, very simple. So let's start with the product name. Now, so we are going to make use of this column because product ID is here and product ID is here as well. So that will be equal to VLOOKUP. Now, the VLOOKUP value, the table array, the column index number, and the range lookup. Now, what is our lookup value? Anybody that wants to put it in the comment section. What is our lookup value? Do you have anybody that wants to type it? Yeah, I will go back to the conditional formatting, don't worry. The product ID, thank you. That is our lookup value. So now, to make it easy for you, you can type up here instead of typing here. So you can type up here. So you can click on it like this. So when you click on it like that, that is our lookup value. Then comma. Now our table array. What is our table array? Our table array is what? The product details. Now there is no how you'll be. It's very simple because you already have your formula here, and it's going to be systematically teaching you what you need to do. It's going to be teaching you the next step. So our table array is our what? The product details. That is our table array, the product details. So I will click on product details. So you can see that I have the product details up here. Then I will now click on the table array like this. That is my what? My table array. So then I'll click up here. Now index number, the column index number. Our column index number is the what? Is the product name that we want to look out for, which is number 2. So I'll click on number 2, then comma. Now you can see when I get to range lookup, it said either true or what? Or false. But I don't want an approximate match. I want a what? I want an exact match. And so that is why I'm going to pick on false. So then I'll click enter. So that is P106 tablets. So now, if you check P106 here, you can see it's also tablets. So there is no, how do I put it? Like there's no magic to it. Did I do any magic now? It was Excel that guided me on the formula. That's how good Excel is. It will guide you on the formula. And what do you need to do next? Just drag it down. Now, I expected this because, do you know why I said it's going to? Do you remember why we are experiencing something like this? Anybody? Because there's no absolute I want to say it, but let me keep quiet. Do you know why it is like this? Anybody? Don't let me say it. We need to remove the number. Yes. We need to remove the number. No. Anybody else that wants to try? We need to remove the number. So, as you can see now, I've dragged it down and it has worked by removal of the numbers. Removing the numbers up there. And that has worked. So the same thing, the same rules apply if I want my price. So if I want my price, so I will have price here. And equals to VLOOKUP. So if you don't get it the first time, now listen again. Our lookup value is what? Because price is inside product details. So our lookup value is still what? Is still the P106, which is A2. So I'll click on it. That's the lookup value. Then, comma, our table array is still what? Product details. Then this is our table array. So now here, instead of having 2, it's going to be what? 3. Then comma. So either true or false, but I want an exact match. So that will be false. Then comma, then I'll press enter. So we have our price here. But don't forget that to make it an absolute reference, just come and remove the numbering there. Then press enter, you still get it. And when you scroll down, you will get all your numbers back. You get every of those products, and it is going to match everything like that. There's no how you are going to be working and be using Excel in a data analysis as a data analyst in a farm. You are going to make use of VLOOKUP 100%. I use VLOOKUP every week in my place of work. I use VLOOKUP every week in my place of work. So, and when you go for an exam, if you go for an exam or you go for what's it called? You go for an exam on data analyst tests, most of the time, what they will test you on, if they use Excel majorly, what they will test you on is on VLOOKUPs. That's what they will test you upon, is VLOOKUPs. So let's also do that of salesperson. So for salesperson now, our lookup value here, salesperson ID. Yeah, is also the salesperson ID is also the same as name that is here, which is S001. So that's it, S006. So our lookup value is A2. So that will be equal to VLOOKUP. So the lookup value will be what? A2. Then our table array is going to be what? Salesperson. So I will click on salesperson. Then I will drag this like this. Now, let me remove the numbering. Then, comma. Our column is what? 2. Then the range will be what? The range lookup will be exact match, which is false. Then I'll press enter. So the salesperson here is what? Frank. Then let me drag it down. So you need to master VLOOKUP very well, because even when you go for, if anybody wants to organize an Excel test for you, one of those things you'll be tested on is VLOOKUPs. They are one of those things that you are going to be tested upon. Okay. We didn't reference the column. Which column didn't we reference? Yes, it's not compulsory that we reference the column as long as the column name is there. So it's either two ways. We can remove the numbers or use absolute referencing. So it's either of the ways, but I prefer to remove the numbers. Why did we use 3 in place of 2? Now we use 3 in place of 2 for this second one. Now take a look at it. Here we use 3, which is the column index number. Now why did we use 3 for price? We use 3 because in the product details, this is 1, 2, 3. Did you get it? This is the third column here next to our lookup. So 1, 2, 3. That is why we use 3 for price. And for product name, why did we use 2? We use 2 because this is what? 1, 2. That was why we used 2. Do you understand it now? Yeah, perfect. So let me go back to, there's a question that is here. So if I was asked to get the maximum and minimum salary, I'm gonna come. Average, how do we solve that? Should we use a formula or just the pivot table to get the average salary, then sort in ascending order to get departments in? Yes, if you are asked to get the minimum and average salary per department, for me personally, because of where I work, because of non-technical stakeholders, I will personally use a pivot to get the average salary, then sort in descending order. That is, I will use pivot tables, then sort in descending order to get the highest department with the minimum average and with the highest average. So it's very easy, but I'm not sure this data can do it. I would have tested what you are trying to talk about. So for that, I will personally use pivots, but you can also use maximum and minimum. However, the reason why I say I will use pivots is because what if they now come back and say, can we get all the average salary per department? Can we get everything? But you already know that you have everything, every of those data. So if you use maximum and minimum alone, while you answer them and send them because sometimes in my place of work, even amongst the data analyst team, some of our boss can ask, okay, please, can I get the average of this and that? So, and all they need is just numbers, because he is a technical stakeholder. He's also a senior data analyst. He's just busy, so he cannot do the analysis at that time. So he's just asking me to, or asking us, those of us that we are under him, that we should quickly do the analysis. So, however, if it is like a non-technical stakeholders, what I mean by non-technical stakeholders is, for example, those that are in the finance team that don't know anything much about data. So preferably, I'm going to use a pivot for it so that I will get all the average salary per each department. Then I will now sort to know the highest and the minimum. So it depends on which stakeholder that I'm answering. It depends on it. Okay, this is a very good question. So what do we do when a data has too many null values in its cells? Now, when the data has too many null values in its cell, see, I know some of you that, let me say this is a fake data, so because of YouTube, so that they will not say that we are using data that was showing names and stuff like that. So this is a fake data, to be clear on that. So I know some of you have watched YouTube videos that they will tell you that when you see null values, delete it, do it. You have to delete null values. When you are cleaning data, delete null values. Let me tell you this, that I'll tell you, when you are working with data, when you are working as a data analyst in a company, you don't delete any value. You don't. Even if you have a lot of null values, you don't delete it. So let me give you an example now. So for example, if you have a data that has too many null value, let me give you an example. For example, if you have a data that has maybe a price list, if you have a price list and there are a lot of missing values in that price list, the first thing you do is to reach out to the stakeholders that are involved, that there are a lot of null values in the price lists of the product. So the stakeholder will tell you what to do with it. Most of the time, they will tell you to fill in those missing numbers with some values. 99% of the time, they will tell you to fill in those null values with some values. And sometimes they will give you the values themselves. I was working on a data last month in January in my place of work, and it has a lot of null values. So what did I do? I went back to the stakeholders that were involved, and so I sent those numbers to them so that they can fill it in manually and send it back to me so that I can, before I start the analysis. So when I extracted the data from the data source, and so null value is as a result of lack of good data quality. Null value is as a result of that. So when you are watching some YouTube videos that they will tell you, when you are cleaning data, delete null values. Let me tell you this, you don't delete a company data. Do you understand it now? You don't delete it. I'm sure that most of those people that does all those YouTube videos, they are not working in a company. They are not working in a company. So you don't delete at all. You don't delete null values. So if you are asked in an interview that what do you do with null values? So that's how somebody will know whether you have experience or not. That's how somebody will know whether you have experience or not. I'm still going to come back to your question. Sorry. But I want to dwell kindly on this null value. So that's how somebody will know whether you have experience. So if I ask you that, how do you deal with null values? If you tell me that you have been working as a data analyst in a company and you go ahead and tell me that, oh, I will delete null value, I will say, oh, that's good. All right. But you have failed the interview. You have failed the interview because I know you don't have experience. So it's only when you are dealing with your own, maybe you are practicing and dealing with null values, that's when you can delete null values. So for null values, the first thing you do, like I said, is go back to the stakeholders, and sometimes they will fill it manually themselves. And I've worked in an organization before that there were null values in the price in the tuition fee list. And so what they said is that missing tuition fee, that I should fill in the null values with missing tuition fee. So sometimes they could tell you the price list to fill it with missing price lists. So they could tell you to fill in those null values with missing price list, but you don't delete it. So I believe that I've been able to answer that question successfully. So I believe that when you go for a data analyst interview and they ask you that how do you deal with null values, you will not go and be following all those YouTube videos that says delete null values. So you don't delete null values. Then, so how do we create a pivot table in a specific cell? We've done that now. Create a pivot table in a specific cell. How do we do that? Insert pivot table from a table range. So in a specific cell, so if you want to create it in a specific cell, all you need to do is to go to, instead of new worksheet, or even if it is a new worksheet, you can click on existing worksheet and look for the area you want to create it with. If I want to create it here now, I will just do it like this, that this is where I want my pivot tables to be. I want it to be inside this place. And if I want a new worksheet, I'll click on new worksheet too. Now that is where I want it to be. So creating pivot tables is very easy in a specific cell. It's very easy. Just click on that worksheet and specify it down there. So here the question I was asked to solve an interview assessment. Calculate the salary average for each department. Identify the departments with highest and lowest average salary. Write a formula to achieve these results. The distribution across, okay. Now, if you are doing this in an interview or in a, from experience, I would say that you should use a pivot table. If this is an assessment, if it's an interview assessment, I would say that you should use a pivot table, because with pivot table, you can calculate the average of each of those salary. Because all you need to do is when you go to pivot table, like the pivot table that we did here, like the pivot tables that we did on this one, like the pivot table that we have here, which is the average total per sales. Look at the average sales per region. So we did it using pivot table. So is an interview assessment. If I'm the one that gave you the interview assessment, I request, but they will not tell you. What they will require is a pivot table, and also identify the departments with the highest and lowest salary. So when you do that, when you do the when you now sort it highest and lowest, then this is when conditional formatting now comes in. So you can go and you can use a color for the highest and state it in front that this is the highest average salary of each department, and use another color for the lowest salary. So that is where conditional formatting comes in. Then write a formula to achieve these results. So when you the formula to achieve the results is the pivot table that you just use. That's the formula. So, but to distinguish highest and lowest, that is where now conditional formatting now comes in. So you just use conditional formatting and color the one that has the highest and color the one that has the lowest. So I believe that I've answered that. How to make use of advanced charts? Yeah, it's because the data that I use, but it's also the same thing. We can't make the data that I have here does not speak well that we use histograph for it, but just click on it. If those charts matches it, just click on it, and so there's no problem with it at all. So let's say one did conditional formatting. Does he or she has to put all those on the dashboard, including bar chart and everything? Now, why do you do the conditional formatting? I just gave an example of why you should use conditional formatting now. For example, for the highest and lowest salary, just to distinguish it. So that is one of the reasons why I would use conditional formatting, to distinguish the highest and the lowest salary per department. So does he or she has to put all those on the dashboard, including the bar chart and everything? Yes, you have to put it in the dashboard. You have to put it in the dashboard. And he or she was also asked to highlight certain products. Does the highlighted product also has to come into the dashboard? Yes, that shows that you are a good designer and you understand Excel. You understand how to create dashboard in Excel very well. Yeah, it depends on what you are asked by your stakeholders. So if you are asked all these things and you use them, then just bring everything to your dashboard. Just bring everything to your dashboard. You'll be surprised to see. Let me shock you that sometimes when you go online, you see very beautiful dashboards and all those things like that. Let me tell you this, that in places of work, most of the time we don't have enough time to design good dashboards. But we design it just to ensure that our non-technical stakeholders can understand this. So sometimes it could be scattered, but as long as those people you are explaining it to understand, then that's fine. So it's not about all it being colorful. No. You have gotten the priority wrong. You have gotten the priority wrong at all. The most important thing is that you should be able to, when you are explaining it, you should be able to grasp it. Your non-technical stakeholder should be able to grab it. That is all. So how do we replace missing value with missing value with nil? How do we replace missing value with nil? Oh, did I teach you how to replace missing value with nil in Excel? I think I taught it in Power BI. It's very easy to do because all you need to do is click on your blank values and you will click on replace with nil. Sometimes they can tell you to replace it with nil. It's very easy to do in Power BI. How would I perform analysis if I have multiple Excel, just like having different SQL tables to get information and then put it in single worksheet? Now, if you have a multiple Excel sheet, so all you need to do is to, yes, like you have customer CSV, product. If you have something like that, all you need to do is to come here and insert, come to data, get data, and insert data inside that data. So that helps you to bring all the data together. So if you insert data from that data, it will help you to bring all the data together. So you keep inserting and inserting together. So I've gone through the data set for the project. Is there a standard you want us to follow to replace empty cells in the delivery time so that we can have a rhyme result at the end of our analysis? Or should we replace the empty cell with mean or median values? Okay. So yeah, that is a very good question, because that means that you have gone through the because see that those are the kind of typical questions. The project I sent to you are the kind of what you will see in when you because you will always have bad quality data and you always have missing numbers like that. So I deliberately give that, and some of you probably have started and you just deleted all those null numbers. Obviously, you have gotten it wrong. So can you let's replace it with the mean values. That's another way of dealing with null values. Your stakeholders can ask you to replace them with all the average. So let's replace all those missing values, all those empty cells in the delivery time with a mean value. It is a fake data. It is not a real data. Please, it's not the real data of any company, but it looks like a data of people that delivers things. It looks like a data of people that is people. I don't want to mention any name because this is going live on YouTube. So it looks like people that if you order something, so they came to deliver it in your house. So I just deliberately gave that data so that at least you'll be aware of how, for example, if you are working in a delivery company, that's how the data will be. I don't want to mention the name of any company. So if you are working in a delivery company and you order the laptop, they bring your laptop home, they have a data for it. So there could be some missing data. And sometimes the missing data is because of lack of good data quality, and it's because of there are no good data validation. The data validation techniques that was used when filling in those things were not correct. So any other question? All these questions are very, very intelligent questions. So I think that I quite enjoyed the class with all your questions. So any other question? All right, the person that asked for VLOOKUP, can you put it in the chat box if you have understood it? If you understood what or if you don't understand VLOOKUP before, can you just put it in the chat box that yes, I think I get it now? Or any other person that does not understand VLOOKUP before? And nobody is typing. All right, thank you very much. So now in this class, which is the last class, even if you do not gain anything, at least you gain how to deal with null values. Like if you have known everything. Now for the example in cell C2 to C10, only cell 5 has a value on it. So in this case, what's the best approach? Is it the picture that you gave? Is it the picture you gave? The C2 to C10, I don't understand it though. Is it the data set I gave you or which one? Okay, is it that they were missing? Is it the rest of the data were missing? So only C5 has a value in it. Yeah, if it is only C5 that has a value in it, they were all blank. Yeah, if it is only C5 that has a value in it, is it a company data or an assessment? If it's an assessment, most of the time they will give you what to do with those. Did they give you anything how to do the null values, how to treat it? Did they give any instruction on how to treat the null values? Yes or no? Not given. If they are not given, then don't delete it. If they don't give any instruction on how to treat it, best bet, if the assessment is like they sent it to you to do it and submit to them, you can go back to them, because they are just like somebody came back to me now about the assessment I gave you. You can go back to them and ask, please, how do you want us to treat the null values? So as a data analyst, you have to have good communication skills. You need good communication skills as a data analyst. So when I'm working on a data and I notice a problem, I go back to that stakeholder to go and tell that person. So with you having that problem with that assessment, just send an email to them. Is there a way you want us to, is there anyhow you want us to treat this? Is there anyhow that you want us to treat? I will come back to that. Is there anyhow that you want us to treat these null values? They will give you. I've done different assessments before that they gave me a week to do it. And yes, that's another way. Another way is I've done different assessments before, and they told in the assessment outline, we were told that all the null values, we should replace them with missing values. That is, a blank value, any blank, we should replace them with missing values. That was what we are told, that replace them with missing values. That was what we were told. And we did just that. And that was very perfect. So, very good. Another thing is about documenting it, that how this was how you clean it. So they have a clear idea, but don't delete the null values. So what we were told in that assessment that put anywhere you see blank for this field, just put missing values. That is, we should replace them with missing value. So my response to that was that we should replace it, all those missing values in the delivery time should be replaced with the mean values. The mean values of the column. So that's my response to that. At least I've typed that. Okay. Kindly run through the pivot table and pivot chart again. Pivot table and pivot chart is easy. We just did it last week. Time has gone. You asked the question late. I'm sorry. Just watch last week video. You will understand it. I can go and rewatch last week video. You are going to understand it. Yes. Are we expected to send the project to the email provided in Excel format? Yes. No. Now, that is a very good question. If you are given any assessment, when you go for when you apply for an interview and they send you an assessment to do, and it's an Excel assessment, always do the assessment in Excel. Don't go and submit Microsoft Word for them. So you are submitting in Excel format. Everything I gave you, all I need back from you is just the Excel. Is the Excel workbook. That is all I need back from you. I don't need it in Microsoft Word at all. So everything I ask there, do it and make sure that it is well written, that, okay, this was the total delivery time, and ensure that. Now, some of them, now what happens is that I want to check your formulas. Let me be more clear. So don't go and calculate it with your calculator. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like here now, in this VLOOKUP, if this is possibly an assessment now, and somebody has submitted this, all I will do is I will just click on it to know the formula that the person did. So when you are giving an assessment, even if they say you should calculate the sum, always use Excel formula, because the person that is going, the assessor, the person that is going to check what you did, is going to look at the formula that you use. That is what shows whether you have a full grasp of Excel. So it's not like, even if what they tell you to do is to do the sum of these two, don't use your phone and say the sum equals to, you now come here and say the sum equal to, maybe the sum is now 150. You now say sum 150. You now say 150. Then you now say, okay, let me bold this very well so that they will see it. There is nothing that concerns the assessor. All he wants to check is when he click on this, is there any formula coming out? No formula is coming out. Then you have missed it. So how is he sure that it's just like mathematics? You know, I believe that every one of us, we've done mathematics before. Everybody has done mathematics. There's nobody who has not done mathematics. You have to show your workings, isn't it? You have to show workings. So also in Excel, they expect you to show workings. Yeah, you are welcome. Then in Excel, they want you to show workings, which is your formula. So that is what shows whether you know it or not. They expect you to show workings. So, but they will not tell you, and some will tell you. I've done some assessments before that they will say, ensure that you leave the formula. Ensure that you leave the formula. Because sometimes they know that possibly you use formula, but maybe you just copied it and you want to copy it to another place. No, some people will tell you, and if some people are not nice at all, they won't tell you that you should leave the formula. So either you are told to leave the formula or you are not told to leave the formula. Always ensure that you use formula in Excel and you leave it like that when it is an assessment. But if you are working in a company, nobody is going to check your formula. So company work is different from assessment. But you still have to leave those formulas there most of the time. You still have to leave those formulas there most of the time, because when you do a work, somebody is going to QA what you have done. That is, do a quality assurance. Sometimes we call it peer review. Somebody is going to review what you have done to ensure that you use the correct formulas. So are we expected to treat the question accordingly? I'm not sure I got your question. Accordingly as how? Is it one by one? Yes, I expect you to treat it. I expect you to treat it. All I needed is that those places where I asked for average, when I look at, so this is how I'm going to mark it. You don't need to say number one, average equals to, no, you don't need to do that. Just if it is average that you calculated, maybe you calculated it underneath. Another way to make it visible is just like I put it here. You can just make it bold. So when I look at your Excel workbook, and please, plagiarism, don't copy each other. Don't copy each other. So when I look at your Excel workbook, so that A will not submit what B has submitted. If you submit what somebody else has submitted, that means that I'm not going to mark it and you are not due for certificate. Obviously, I'm going to know. Because I will not tell you how I'm going to know. So don't worry. Yeah, so yes, just treat them accordingly, and it will make some things visible, just like I put some here and I pulled in it. And I just said sum of the price or average of the price. So that will make it visible to me. So any other question before we wrap up the class? So I give you till March 31. So I will give you some other, if you have any question, on the assessments, don't chat me up. Kindly chat your class captain up. I'm very, very busy. I'm very busy. Please don't chat me up. Just chat your class captain up, and they will attend to it. If they don't know it, they will get back to me on it, and they will get back to you. So thank you very much. Thank you. And if you have enjoyed the class, just give a thumbs up. Just give a reaction. So I'll see you guys on WhatsApp. So thank you very much. So ensure that you do the assignment. Bye for now.